Some things, my boy, are better left unsaid.
This is a kid's show, by the way. Growing up watching the big three of children programming, you were exposed to tons of good villains of various types. However, being a medium for kids, a lot of those villains were usually the standard mustache twirlers whose plans were always thwarted by the main character. You had your total goofballs who barely count as a supervillain. Like, does anyone call Plankton the supervillain of SpongeBob? I never hear that. Hell, some villains you barely see as villains, whether it be because they're incredibly lame or like super fucking hot.
My whole life is changed.
Shout out Shigo. However, every once in a while, the people behind these cartoons would just decide to like lock the fuck in and give you a true demon of a villain. You saw them most on Cartoon Network easily, as they had the best lineup of villains out of the big three networks. Like Slade, I'm gonna torment a group of teenagers, but leave it at that because I'm not my comic counterpart. When I think of these types of villains, my mind always goes to Dark Danny though, the evil future version of Danny Phantom. Now, I know a lot of you might think of a certain Twitter account when I say evil Danny Phantom, which you wouldn't be wrong in thinking that. This tweet is pretty damn evil. But in Dark Danny's case, he's such a menacing yet all-around entertaining antagonist due to his backstory that presents the idea of Danny becoming the most evil ghost of all time through his sadistic nature that the episode never makes feel like a far-fetched possibility. The ultimate enemy as an episode itself is usually cited as one of Nickelodeon's darkest episodes, along with being one of their best. The episode opens up on a completely decimated Amity Park, along with the destruction of possibly all the surrounding areas, as the remaining residents of Amity Park all now live inside a dome force field, which is crazy when you think about it. Danny basically sent like the entire state into an apocalyptic wasteland type of situation. Of course, wiping out 99% of the area though isn't enough for Danny. So we turn to Valerie, who is now Amity Park's main protector, surveilling the city when she gets a call from a certain beautiful sounding person.
Hello, Valerie.
Telling her that he found a way to bypass a force field that was made specifically to keep him out. This is like the reverse of Thor arriving on Wakanda. Instead of feeling hope, I just know all the citizens just felt such existential dread because they just knew they were cooked. This entire opening scene excels at fueling that tension and making you wonder what the hell is going on. Like, who are all these safety precautions made for? Who was the Fright Knight's new master? Because last time we seen him, literally in the last episode, he's working for the Ghost King. And of course, the biggest question, where is Danny at? So once it's all revealed at the end of the opening scene that Danny is the one who has destroyed this entire future world, and all induces major goosebumps. I got some of my legs right now talking about this. I'm so glad they also kept the reveal of Danny being the ultimate enemy out of all the show's marketing. Not a single promo gave away the twist. Even the illustrated title card gives no clear hints at who the ultimate enemy is, which is for the best because man, seeing this shit for the first time, it's such a dope ass reveal with how his ghostly wail echoes in the background and he comes from the ground like an undead being accompanied by fire, and his design that really screams evil Danny Phantom. But also the physique, because like hot damn, like look at those lats. He definitely has a membership at Diamond Gems. What are you looking at?
Oh, me? Damn.
It's also funny because cartoons for some reason just love making future version of characters insanely ripped. Like look at all the versions of Ben 10K or that one version of Future Timmy. Like what the hell is in the future's water supply that makes these people look all so buff? Dark Danny ends up blowing up Fenton, where it's possibly one of the last remaining pieces of his old life, and also likely kills Valerie's dad all in his first few seconds of screen time. It's so raw. It's just so raw. We're then introduced to the ghost Clockwork and the Observers as they discuss what must be done with Danny, as he's become the world's most evil ghost. After the cold open, we're introduced to the episode's core theme as Mr. Lancer lectures on, emphasizing how important passing the upcoming big test is for all the kids' future. Danny is noticeably nervous about the test and his future, similar to like everyone else on planet Earth. Dark Danny is basically born out of that common fear like everyone has of not having a bright future that you envision. We see Clockwork and the Observers observing Danny, where they set their plan into motion, which is just trying to kill him while he's younger and weaker. If I had like a nickel for every time someone wanted to kill a villain who deems himself inevitable by going back in time, I would have 2 nickels. Not a lot, but it's just crazy that it happens twice. After his fight with Box Lunch, the daughter of Box Ghost and the Lunch Lady,
Yikes. Actually, it's more of an ew.
he ends up accidentally retrieving the answer to the CAT test, and this is where the first signs of his true evil future starts to show. Clockwork mentioned that Danny turns evil because he cheated on his test, and once he gets the answer to said test, Danny is ecstatic. Taking notice of Danny's poor decisions, Clockwork sends another ghost to destroy Danny, this time a fused version of Skulker and Technus, who attack Danny just mere moments before he fully seals his fate and cheats on the CAT. However, thanks to the help of Sam and Tucker, Danny's able to take out Skulktech, and in doing so, they get teleported to Clockwork's domain. Here is where Danny learns about his future as a ghost tyrant, but surprisingly, he isn't shocked. He's more so thrilled about how cool he looks.
Wow. What is that? Some kind of ghostly whale?
And I feel like this moment from Danny exposes such an underrated part of this episode, which is how this episode makes it extremely believable that Danny could become this evil version of himself. The episode itself has moments to convince you of this, like the moment I just mentioned where he disregards his future self's destruction and only acknowledges the cool new ghostly whale power. But we also see how gently ecstatic he is when he retrieves the answers to the big CAT and his nonchalant manner of committing to the act of cheating.
You're not actually thinking of peeking at the answers, are you?
Of course I am. Aren't you?
He's stolen the test answers.
He's clearly going to cheat.
He has your time medallion.
He has your time medallion.
You said that twice.
Now, if you've seen the show, you know that Danny's identity as a superhero doesn't really defend him from going totally evil, as there's numerous occasions in the show, both before this episode and after, where Danny abuses his powers to get back at his bullies or just use them for any other personal gain. And yes, while he does go back on those acts in episodes, it shows that his superhero morality isn't as rock solid as other heroes. You couple all that with his growing bipolar attitude towards his duality as being half ghost and half human, to where he tries to get rid of his powers in episodes like Identity Crisis and everyone's favorite episode, Phantom Planet. It's completely believable he'd look to separate himself from his powers after suffering great tragedy. Now, usually situations like this can feel like they come out of nowhere, as why would our hero stoop to villainy? But the ultimate enemy provides and uses existing evidence to make the claim that Danny turning evil feel true and not like a far-fetched idea, adding to just like the sad nature of it all. After escaping the BTA Clockwork was giving him, Danny grabs Sam and Tucker to escape to the future. It looks like it's been hit by like 7 AC-130s who racked up a fucking 30 kill streak nuke and dropped a bomb on this motherfucker. They come in contact with Valerie and her PTSD starts to kicking in, so much to the point where she starts attacking young Danny as she mistook him for Dark Danny. However, not too long after, Dark Danny shows up to correct her mistake. The group finally come face to face with Dark Danny, and his lack of emotion is displayed in full as he sees his dead friends, however shows no sign of remorse. Hell, moments later he just tries to fucking kill them himself by dropping Fenton words on them, which comes like moments after he also tries to kill Valerie, even acknowledging their past but disregarding it. The way Dark Danny presents himself in this scene is also interesting to me, as he comes off as real familiar with Clockwork meddling, as he deduces he's sort of behind this while also showing no real shot to seeing his past self. His demeanor becomes even more unnerving when he takes Danny to the site of the accident that started all this, making note of how this event ruined his future, where he seems like genuinely happy to be telling him this, like he does not care. He ends up trapping young Danny in the future and flinging him into the ghost zone, while he goes back in time to prevent history from ever changing. Now from here, Dark Danny's plan in this special is pretty simple, as he just wants to kill his friends and family. Oh, and Mr. Lancer. As we go back to young Danny, we get to see the future versions of Danny's enemies, and damn, I was talking about Dark Danny, but this nigga Box Ghost been doing like 50 reps and 50 cents on the bench press. Look at this nigga's arms. Box Ghost may be jacked, but he's missing an entire hand. Johnny 13 is in a wheelchair and has a receding hairline, but I doubt Danny's responsible for that. And Ember states that Dark Danny's ghostly well shattered her vocal cords, meaning no more diamond platinum singles for her, unfortunately, which sucks because Ember, you will remember my name is such a banger ass song. Dark Danny either went hunting for his old villains or they went after him, which caused a lot of them these injuries. I'd even infer for someone like Skulltake, Danny must have either destroyed Skulker in some way, leading him to fuse with Technus, or they just combined naturally to try to match Danny's strength. Either way, seeing all these ghosts and Danny coming into contact only paints a darker light over Danny's future, as it shows just how far his ghost half has gone to entirely break his enemies and even cripple some. Enemies that he would sometimes find common ground with, or do nothing more than just send them back to the ghost zone. Once our Danny takes down the future ghost inhabitants, he pays a visit to his old/current arch enemy.
Man, what happened to you?
We get a look at a Vlad who's seen one too many Green Bay Packers choke jobs. Vlad reveals to us and Danny how Dark Danny became to be. Danny's parents, Jazz, Sam, Tucker, and of course Mr. Lancer, all caught in an explosion at the Nasty Burger. This left Danny in a state of immense pain and suffering, which leads to him turning to his arch enemy. Bogged down by all his human emotions, Danny had Vlad separate his ghost half from his human half as a way to free him from the pain. However, this would of course like backfire, as Danny's ghost half came out like pissed off for some reason, and he rips like Vlad's ghost half from him and he fused with it, only to become overwhelmed by Vlad's evil ghost half, completely corrupting Danny. And like, it's fucking wild. This scene is wild. This corruption of Danny's ghost half also leads to Danny destroying Vlad's mansion, leaving him extremely wounded and of course killing his human half in the process. Besides never finding out why Danny's ghost half went all Goku black, other than assuming that possibly this ghost half of Danny is the one that kept nothing but rage and anger due to the incident, this is still a really effective scene, as it's such a huge tonal shift for a show that's it's more so on the comedic side for an action cartoon.
Caught up in their rift on that jolly old fellow, they didn't see Danny's white Christmas turn yellow.
I also love that you can tell Vlad was definitely thinking about manipulating Danny when he came to ask for help, but really did feel his pain. It's all just such juicy storytelling. After fusing with Vlad's ghost half, Danny would go on to become this borderline demonic entity. As he flees Vlad's mansion, reducing it to rubble, he flies away maniacally laughing. Part of why Dark Danny is so iconic is because of this scene alone. It's kind of like Joker's whole one bad day philosophy, where he believes that one bad day can drive someone to become the darkest version of themselves. I know evil version of characters are like not anything new, and at this point are like super played out. For God's sake, stop making Superman evil, my nigga. Now going back to the episode, Dark Danny cheats on the CAT, which causes Mr. Lancer to organize a meeting with Danny's parents at the Nasty Burger. And when they get there, Tucker and Sam come in to warn them about the upcoming explosion. We gotta get the fuck out of here, they say. Come on, we can't be here, we all gonna die. However, they're shortly followed by Jazz, who already found out that this wasn't Danny. You know, Dark Danny kind of like showed up and like exposed himself to her, and it's like this really funny like screenshot where they stand next to each other. Anyway, Jazz is here and all geared up as she exposes the Dark Danny in front of everyone. Now this scene is really where I want to talk about my favorite aspect of Dark Danny, and that's Eric Roberts' performance. He gives Dark Danny such a chill, evil voice that makes his actions and line deliveries hit even harder. It's this total casual nature he talks about the death of his friends and family, and even how he confidently sounds telling young Danny that his future hasn't changed, as it makes you believe him. With the way Eric performs it, it makes you believe that all hope is lost, and just adds more validity to all his evil actions. This scene where he ridicules his parents for not being able to figure out their son was a half ghost sounds like he's getting something off of his chest that he's been holding in for years.
What kind of parents are you anyway? The world's leading ghost experts, and you can't figure out that your own son was half ghost.
Roberts also delivers the iconic "I'm inevitable" line before it was even made iconic.
Nice try, Jazz. But me, my future, I'm inevitable.
Oh my God, he's so goddamn cool!
That sweet, buttery voice. Like, how could I not like this one over Thanos's, bro? Like, come on. Dark Danny eventually straps everyone to the ticking time bomb of fast food condiments and proceeds to kick his younger self's ass, once again handing Danny this like second or third can of like BTA in this episode. He gets his ass whooped a lot in this episode. Honestly though, my one big pet peeve is that this fight could have been a lot cooler. We've been waiting for these two to fight for like 40 minutes, and it's just nothing but like slideshows and ghostly wails that don't really feel like they have any weight put behind them. Dark Danny goes out also in like a real unceremonious way, just getting sucked into the thermos. However, I will once again give him his dues, because when they start fighting, he says that he doesn't even have to win. He just has to wait out the clock and his future will be set. And while he loses the fight, he ultimately wins the war, as the fight leaves Danny with no power right as the Nasty Burger is about to explode and kill everyone. And to be honest, if not for Clockwork's like interfering, which is called out as cheating because like the nigga did cheat, Dark Danny legitimately would have succeeded in keeping his timeline intact. Which, like, even though it's a technicality, it's insane that the villain wins, successfully killing his loved ones. Like, you don't see that a lot in these type of superhero stories, especially one on Nickelodeon. Of course though, Danny does win the day, getting able to carve out a brighter future than the one he went up against. As for Dark Danny, he's put in Clockwork's custody, being used as like home decor, trapped inside the thermos just like on one of his shelves. We do see him attempting to break out, teasing his eventual return. However, show wise, that never happened, since Steve Marmel, a prominent show writer for the show's first 2 seasons, left the show before its 3rd season. And since the show was eventually canceled, that potential Dark Danny return just never happened. I know he does make appearances in the tie-in novels like A Glitch in Time here and Fair Game, but I haven't even finished A Glitch in Time right here because I'm a filthy procrastinator. Regardless, this standalone episode was enough, as Dark Danny truly made his mark in the animation landscape, standing out as Nickelodeon's best and darkest villain. He had all the bad guy traits to make him memorable, that's all sewed together through believable ideas and changes Danny would go through if the right buttons were pressed. And there's tons of evidence in the show that supports that this could indeed happen. However, those are just my thoughts though. I'd love to hear how you all feel about Dark Danny and his stance amongst other villains. If you enjoyed this video, please consider hitting that like button down below and subscribing to the channel if you're new here. Also hype the videos on mobile, because that also helps the video and the channel. Also, if you're a regular watcher of the channel, even if you're new here, let me know if you enjoyed this style. See, this is like a new thing I'm trying to do, because like AI and plagiarize are appearing more and more on YouTube, so I gotta switch things up to stay unique. And also, I feel like last year I had a lot of like videos where I didn't show my face. I kind of missed, you know, putting myself in these videos, making them feel a lot more unique. I hope you all enjoyed this video. Let me know if you fuck with the style. Let me know how you feel about Dark Danny. And until next time, it's been your boy Dan, the Boy Wonder, signing out. Peace.